Ladies and gentlemen, presenting the 235-member Michigan Marching Band. And take the field. Under the direction of Professor Jamie Elnick, the N Fanfare.
What's going on, guys? Hey, all right, I'll give you the opening spiel. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Dr. Anwar Yusuf Dunbar, and this is Big Discussions 76 Sports. First of all, please like this stream, please share it, and please subscribe. Yada, yada, yada. If you want to leave something in the tip jar, that information is below. So today is February 21st, 2021. So we're going to do something a little bit differently today. Well, no, not different, something new, which is we're going to bounce around a little bit. We're going to the men's basketball team just finished their game down in C-Bus against our old friends, the Buckeyes. So we're going to talk about that. And then, as you know, the big news item from this week surrounding the football program was Super Joe entering the transfer portal. So I uploaded a pre-record on that. And I think Buckeye Alex has a few things he wants to say about it. And I think you guys do too. So we'll chop that up a little bit. And then we're going to jump around just at the end around the world of sports. We'll take a look at the NBA standings. I know Abdul Gaines wants to. The Lakers aren't ranked number one out west. So I thought we'd take a quick look at the Eastern Conference and NBA standings. And then we'll take a few minutes at the end to celebrate Naomi Osaka's win in the Australian Open. Before we start that, I'll give you guys three quick stories. What's interesting is this week I went to LA Fitness to work out a little bit. And guess what I saw when I was getting ready to skip rope? I saw a Buckeye fan at LA Fitness. And so I saw the Buckeye fan and I saw his gear and I said, "Hey, did you go to Ohio State?" And he said, "Yeah." And I picked up my jacket and I said, "Yeah, well, look at this." I showed him my Block M, and we both gave our little laugh and our little smile and our little Big Ten nod. And actually, most Buckeye fans, despite the reputation, despite the stories I hear about the Snake Pit, most of the Buckeye fans I meet are actually pretty nice. So we sat and we talked about basketball, and we talked about the top 25, and I mentioned this in my live stream in the aftermath of the Wisconsin victory. We talked about the fact that the traditional powerhouses are not in the top 25 right now. No Duke, no North Carolina, no Kentucky. And he said something pretty interesting. I forget the guy's name, but this Buckeye fan said something pretty interesting. He said because of the one and dones, perhaps those kids, that might be a reason why Duke, North Carolina, and Kentucky are not in the top 25, because their one and dones, I guess, maybe decided not to play, or they opted out or whatever. So those powers, because they don't have their one and dones, now you have more senior laden teams like Michigan's who are up in the top 25. So I thought that was interesting. So hey, not all the Buckeye fans are obnoxious and mean. So That's story number one. Story number two actually was at my job. And, you know, what's interesting about sports, the chat is kind of active now. You know, in sports is something that brings us together. You know, we come in here and Abdul Gaines likes to shred Jim Harbaugh, and you guys like to shred Jim Harbaugh and Joe Milton and those kinds of things. But sports actually is a reason for us to gather, and it's a reason for us to, you know, fellowship. And so at my job right now, you guys know I introduce myself as Dr. Anwar Youssef Dunbar. I have a PhD in pharmacology, and I'm a regulatory scientist in the government. And right now I'm chairing the cancer group in my division. That's a picture of a cancer cell. I think this is the first time I've shown something science related over here, but I'm chairing this committee. And despite the fact I entertain you guys here and we talk about sports, chairing science committees is not natural for me. So I've had to learn that. And I had to go to the principal's office 2 weeks ago for a little reprimanding. And so my senior chair of that cancer committee, we had to meet over something because I led a meeting on Wednesday, and there were some details he and I needed to work out afterwards. And I was just dreading that meeting because I thought I was going to get another beatdown from him. He didn't give me a beatdown the first time. But I thought I was going to get a beatdown, and I'm sitting on this call in front of my computer waiting for a reprimanding. And we opened the conversation with basketball. He says, "Hey, have you been watching basketball? I see Michigan's doing pretty well." And I was thinking we're going to jump right into cancer. And it turns out he broke the ice with sports. So sports bring us together, and sports are also an icebreaker. So I thought that was kind of cool. It helped me relax a little bit and get us down to business. And so my next story, and then we'll jump into the game that just finished. And actually, this kind of involves the game that just finished. But I was looking at those Buckeye uniforms that they were wearing today in Columbus, and it literally took me back to the well, they're not playing Ohio State there, but in this tournament right here in the 1992 men's NCAA tournament, I think it was the game after this one, the Fab Five, they advanced to I think it was the South regional final, where they met up with Ohio State. That was the Ohio State team with Lawrence Funderburk and Jimmy Jackson, and there was a white kid on that team with a crew cut named Jans, and I think he fouled Chris Webber, or he fouled one of the Fab Five on the decisive play of that game. But that year, the Buckeyes wore their all gray. Their home uniforms were all gray. And so when I was watching the game today down in Columbus, that took me back to that 1992 regional final between Michigan and Ohio State, where Michigan obviously went on and beat Cincinnati and then got pounded by Duke in the national title game. But those all gray uniforms with the scarlet letters and numbers are actually kind of cool. So let me take a look at some of the comments here, because you guys are going ham there in the chat. Let's see. Trepa was here early. I switched the time back to 4:30. Oh, and Matt Weiss coming to Michigan to be the quarterback coach too. Never a dull moment with this football team. Everyone said Jim would be coaching quarterbacks. Yeah, that's what I thought based upon the article that I read. I don't know why he's not doing it. That's me saying I'm going to start. Hey, what up? Nate, the hopeful Wolverine fan. Hey, welcome to the party, Nate. Buckeye Alex, man, what? Jim is not a quarterback whisperer. Okay, Nate, you're going to hear lots of that the more you hang out here. Nate's laughing. Abdul Gaines, the Wolverines should stay in the basketball lane. That's where they can make an impact. They're not committed to the football. You know what, Abdul? I'm finishing up John U. Bacon's last book, and there's actually a chapter on that which says some really, really interesting things about whether or not Michigan is committed to football. And it also says some interesting things about your favorite coach. Hold on, wait for it. I got to find Abdul Gaines' favorite coach, his favorite college football coach here. And it's not who any of you guys would think. Darn, where is it? January. Oh, there it is. Abdul Gaines' favorite coach. Right here. Abdul Gaines' favorite coach because he cooks the schedule. He doesn't play any out-of-conference games. And he plays cupcake teams like Troy State. And he never schedules a hard game before the Iron Bowl. But that book, Johnny Bacon actually says, he talks about some other things that programs like Alabama do that Michigan does not. So who is that that's new here? Nate, the hopeful Wolverine fan. So yeah, you're going to hear a lot of, the more you hang out here, you're going to hear a lot more of Michigan is not serious about football. Let's see. Alex says it's okay. Michigan football fans have been lying to themselves for years. Is this alma mater for Michigan? Yeah, I went to Michigan. Just the flag right there in the back. Department of Pharmacology, 2005. Jim can't coach QBs to save his life. He has long proven that being the Wolverines' head football coach. It's not Carmen, Ohio. Who cares? I don't know what that means. Now, no way Harbaugh should be coaching, and I think he's proven his ineffectiveness over the last 6 years. Joe wasn't the savior. Juwan Howard has been back on campus for a minute, and he can beat Ohio State. What's your problem, Jim? The Lakers have won titles, not being the number 1 seed in the West, 17-0. So, Abdul, that's kind of apples to oranges. I mean, coaching Power 5 college football is different than coaching Power 5 basketball, in my opinion. No one can save that program. Shut up, AD. Oh, shut up, Alex. You guys have a sparring partner now. The sun never sets on the Buckeye Nation. Never what? My team doesn't have to cover up the symbols of the many accomplishments of the Heritage team. How was that banner raising ceremony in the basement when you guys beat Utah in the regular season game? Okay, that's some Laker Clipper smack. The sun never sets on the Buckeye Nation. We are the standard. Almost done here, guys. Never had to speak at AD. Laughing because you do sign language. Sports, just like death, the great equalizer. Yep. 17 titles, 17 finals appearances in my lifetime. That's the Lakers. That's the squad I'm rolling with. Worry about Denver and Portland. Titles are reserved for those with heritage and legacy. So not only does Abdul Gaines go hard for Ohio State now, guys, he's a diehard Laker fan. So that's what we're talking about. And at the end, we're going to look at the NBA standings. Go blue from Dre. The Wolverines should have Juwan Howard coach their football team. He did something today that Harbaugh hasn't come close to doing. Apples to oranges, buddy. Apples to oranges. Go blue. Blue is a good color, very popular. So is diarrhea. Lots of trash talk today. Go blue. Toilet emoji. So basically, you're going to the bathroom. Okay. All right. Chef Saban, Raekwon, the chef has nothing on Saban's cooking skills. Okay, let's take a look at today's game, which Michigan won. I made some scribbles throughout the game as I was going to give my recap of the game. Let me pull up my screen share here. Here. There it is. Okay, so Michigan won 92-87 down to Columbus. They play 2 halves, so this is the breakdown of the game here. Michigan won the first half 45-43, and then they won the second half 47-44. It was a pretty close game. I mean, they won by 5, but Ohio State fought down to the end. I mean, literally, that kid, Dwayne Washington hit a 3-pointer with, I think, less than 20 seconds left that brought them within, I think it was 3 points. So they literally fought down to the end. And it was a pretty, what I saw was that it was a pretty even matchup. I mean, and that's what you would expect from the third and the fourth ranked team. Both teams had very, very versatile players, players who could put it on the floor, players who could step back and shoot it, and those kinds of things. Ohio State got a lot of production from C.J. Walker, Dwayne Washington, and that E.J. Liddell kid. And that E.J. Liddell kid actually was creating a matchup problem for Dickinson, Tanner Dickinson. Jeez, I'm still getting familiar with the team. Let me just make sure I've got that right. Hunter Dickinson. Jeez, why did I say Tanner? I'm thinking about the Minnesota quarterback, but he created a matchup problem for Hunter Dickinson early on. By the way, you know what I realized? That Hunter Dickinson kid, he's actually from here in the DMV. I don't know why over the last 4 years I haven't gone to see this kid play high school basketball, but I'm kind of kicking myself right now seeing how much of a gamer this Hunter Dickinson kid is. But he's actually from here. He's from the DMV. So that E.J. Liddell was creating a matchup problem for the Wolverines on defense early. But the Wolverines were getting a lot of production from the Smith kid who transferred over from the Ivy League school, from Mike Smith. Him and Hunter Dickinson were playing a nice two-man game early. And then Isaiah Livers got off to a slow start, but he came in and he asserted himself quite a bit from three-point range, and then also putting the ball on the floor. Franz Wagner, he got off to a slow start, but he came in and started asserting himself as well, as did this kid here, Shawnee Brown. So, and they said during the commentary of the game that this is a senior-laden squad. So, but I was really impressed by the two-man game that Mike Smith and Hunter Dickinson were playing early on. In the second half, I thought the difference was rebounding. I thought there was one possession where the Wolverines pulled down like 4 or 5 straight offensive rebounds. And if you play basketball, you know that you can't have that. You got to put a body on your offensive man, and you got to go up and get the ball and get another possession for your team. But I think that was huge. And then one of the Ohio State players made a very, very costly turnover. It was, I think it was it might have been this Justice Sewing kid. One of the kids made a behind the back pass to the top of the 3-point line, and that Buckeye player just kind of started running and didn't see the ball come, and then that was a turnover for them. And then Isaiah Livers took it down the floor and got fouled. But I thought those were the plays of the game right there, because otherwise it was pretty close. So it was those offensive rebounds, it was that turnover, and also it was the two-man game between Mike Smith and Hunter Dickinson. And Hunter Dickinson led us in scoring. And I misspoke because I hadn't seen the team play enough. But Hunter Dickinson, when he's down by the basket, he's pretty tough. I mean, the kid is pretty tall, but he really, really asserted himself down there near the basket, and I was impressed. So our team plays defense. They can shoot. They can put the ball on the floor. We've got a big guy in the middle. So in the current NCAA landscape, I think, our team can go pretty deep into the NCAA tournament. Let me just take a quick look at the scoring totals, and then we'll move on to what Buckeye Alex wants to talk about, which is Joe Milton. So Hunter Dickinson led us with 22 points. Next was Eli Brooks. Okay, he had a good game as well. Isaiah Livers had 12. Mike Smith had 11. Shawnee Brown had 15, and Franz Wagner, who was Moritz Wagner's little brother, had 9. He's going to be a gamer because he's versatile. He can put it on the floor. He can shoot it. And he made some pretty good passes when he was driving the lane and dishing off to the bigger guys. So I'm going to take a quick look at Ohio State's production, and then we'll move on. So Ohio State was led by E.J. Liddell. Yeah, no, actually they were led by Dwayne Washington. That kid, yeah, he was fighting down to the end. He scored 30 points, and he was really hitting from beyond the three-point arc. Next was E.J. Liddell with 23, and then C.J. Walker. So they only had 3 double-digit scorers. But again, it was a contest that went down to the end. So let me see who Michigan has next. Let me see who they have next. And then we'll move on to, I'm sure what you guys really want to talk about, which is Super Joe. Michigan basketball schedule. Okay, let me stop my screen share. So the Wolverines next, let's see, on the 25th, they had Iowa's coming in. And then we go down to Bloomington to play the Hoosiers. And then Illinois is coming in on March 2nd. That's my father's birthday. And then, two games with Cal U. One of them, I think, is probably they missed so many games because of COVID. This is probably a rescheduled game, the fact that they're back-to-back like this. So we have Cal U coming in on March 4th, and then we go up to East Lansing to play Cal U again on March 7th. And then I think after that, the Big Ten tournament starts. Okay, so that was today's basketball game. I'm going to read some comments here, and then we're going to switch over to the gridiron. Let's see. It's more Laker smack. Let's see. Chef Saban. What's going on, Herb? Nuts are all the same. Only good to eat, not listen to. Look, I'm sorry. It took too far. Sorry, took it that far. Hey, man, this is sports. There's a lot of smack talk here in sports. I thought Abdul was right. A nut fan. Man. Great game today. I actually thought D was a suck nut fan. Could have gone either way. I think Alex is still talking about the game. Our new guys smack talking Herb. I switched up. I can't root for teams who are less committed than me in football. Yeah, Herb. So Abdul Gaines is now part of the Ohio State fan base. Let's see. Are you? Today was a great game. Both squads can make deep runs in the tournament. I mean, that's fine. I'm a Buckeye fan, but I'm also a realist. It wouldn't shock me if the Wolverines win a national title. They are legit and have everything you need to win it all. I'm real too. They have a really good inside-out game. Yeah, I like the two-man game with Smith and Wagner. No, Dickinson. It's not Wagner. This Wagner is a wing player. Is it a job? Yeah, I play one on TV. LOL. The Wolverines are idle for weeks due to COVID-19 protocols. They come back and beat both Wisconsin and OSU on the road. That's impressive. Man, no fans. It's not really a road game. There were a few there in the stands today. True, with limited fans, but the Wolverines hadn't won in Columbus in 7 years before today. Another wasted QB recruit by Harbaugh. That's a fireable offense on its own. All right, Alex, I'm going to drop the link in the chat right now, and I'll get through the rest of these. There's the StreamYard link, Alex. Zarek Thompson, welcome. I've never seen you before. Not really a road game. 16 players from Michigan's 2020 team have so far decided to transfer. Something weird is going on in Schembechler Hall. It's more like a neutral site game, which I actually love. That's not That's got to be a record for a team not on probation. All right, Alex, there's the StreamYard link. Trepicola says, am I the only one who thinks it's a bad look for Michigan football and Jim Harbaugh to lose the linebackers coach just days before spring practice starts? Yeah, I saw a report of that on my smartphone, but I didn't have the chance to read the article. That isn't necessarily a good thing, but I do suspect with Don Brown going and a new defensive I think it's two defensive coordinators. With two new coordinators coming in, you're going to get turnover in some of those lower positions. So those guys will probably bring in some of their guys to coach that position. So things are in flux and in lots of transition right now. So Buckeye Alex is here. We can show the picture. We're switching over to Joe Milton mode now. There's Super Joe doing his Colin Kaepernick. That's a Colin Kaepernick thing that he's doing. And I'm going to read the tweet, and then I'm going to give it to Alex. I want to thank Coach Harbaugh for giving me that opportunity to come play for a program with lots of tradition. I have bonds with my brothers that will last forever. I have decided to enter the transfer portal as a grad transfer with 3 years of eligibility left. All right, Alex, take it away.
Before I do, what say you, my brother? How you doing?
Good, man. Good. Just hanging in there.
Good. I did want to make a quick comment on the game today. Great game. Man, Michigan is tough. They are really, really good. I've only watched them play a couple times. I did watch the Wisconsin game on playback. I think they beat Iowa. Was it Iowa or was it Minnesota? One of those teams.
The last game was Wisconsin.
Okay. No, it was at the beginning of the year. It was a game at the beginning of the year.
Okay.
I can't remember who it was, but I was like, okay, these, they're pretty solid. I put in a comment that inside out game, I watched Gonzaga play. I don't know if there's a team out there that can beat these guys. They're that good.
Wow.
They're that good. They're legit. They're legit. As much as it hurts me to say it, they're legit. That big man, I mean, they're big and they can score on the wings, which is really, really rare for, a college basketball team. So that I'm probably, if I'm a betting person, I'll probably pick them to win.
Okay.
Just based on that, they can beat you in a bunch of different ways, which is not normal. Typically teams are one-dimensional or they do something really, really good. They're a really good defensive team or they can just shoot the lights out. And obviously in the tournament, you have to have excellent guard play, which they have, but they also have excellent post play on offense and defense. I definitely think, Ohio State played okay.
Mm-hmm.
They got really good play from 3 players. That's about it. And I think Ohio State was in control of the second half, and they had basketball is a game of runs, and that turnover where I think Washington did a behind the back pass and nobody looked up.
Yep.
And then they turned around and they scored, and I think the game was tied. And then Ohio State missed another shot, and then they came back down. Michigan got an and one. The game was over. At that point, to me, the game was just over. It just swung that quick. So Michigan's just tough, man. They're really, really balanced. Typically teams aren't, they're either guard heavy or big man heavy, but Michigan they're balanced and they're tough. They can shoot it. They can bang you inside. They can bring in what's the freshman kid that comes off the bench who's really, really solid? Is it Kivers? I can't think of his name. I think he's a freshman.
Okay, I have the roster up, but yeah.
He's solid. So they're tough, man. I mean, I think Ohio State's going to be there too. I think they'll both make deep runs. I'll probably pick Michigan to win it all. Gonzaga's really good. I don't think they're as good on the wings as Michigan is. So, and I feel like they're better. Their post play is a lot better than Michigan's post play is a lot better than Gonzaga's is right now. So, I'm probably looking at at the Wolverines to win a national championship, which is great. Good, great for Juwan. I'm a big fan of Juwan. So, outside of him being where he, playing where he played, but outside of that, I'm a big fan of him. Definitely, good NBA career. So, happy for that program. So switching over to Joe.
Hey man, let it rip.
What took so long?
Good question.
What took so long? You lose. They lost. Who else did they? They lost. What's his McCaffrey's brother, right? Is it McCaffrey's brother that they lost? They lost another quarterback.
Really?
Yeah, they lost another quarterback. I can't remember.
Dylan. Okay.
Yeah, they lost Dylan. And then they lose Joe, right? So I don't know if this was a school thing where he was trying to line his ducks up for school, because he said that he's going to be a grad transfer.
Mm-hmm.
So, good for him though. He made the most of his time here, so or his time in Ann Arbor. So good for him. A degree from Michigan it goes a long way. So it is what it is. Maybe if he put a little bit more emphasis on football and developing, he might have not had to transfer. But
what do you mean?
Meaning that he graduated in 3 years, right? Which is cool. It's fine. I'm just saying that maybe if he would have maybe graduated in 4 years,
okay,
and spent more time developing his game, like maybe Michigan wouldn't have had to go into, maybe he wouldn't have had to get benched for the gentleman out of Vegas. I can never remember his name.
Cade McNamara.
McNamara, yeah. And I think it's a good move for him. He's still going to have a lot of eligibility left, so good for him. I don't really know where he goes. The transfer portal is like free agency right now. I mean, everybody's moving. So I think quarterback wise, he's probably, I don't think he's a Power 5 QB. Group of 5 maybe, but not Power 5.
Okay.
He has a lot of holes in his game, but there are a lot of places that could use a player like Joe Milton. I also believe that I don't think, and this is to Michigan's credit, this is what they do. I don't feel like they really accented the best parts of his game either. So, I mean, that's just my opinion. I don't think he really fit in what they were trying to do. I just don't think it was a good fit for what Gaddis was trying to do. And, there's nothing wrong with that. I think he's more of the Lamar Jackson cut.
Keep going.
If it's it's basically one read, and if you don't see that one read, you just take off. And for somebody to be unfortunately compared to Cam Newton, which is insane to me, we really didn't see him run that much. He sat in the pocket, and I just don't feel like that's his forte as a player. I think he had trouble reading defenses. And when McNamara got in, he's a take what the defense gives you kind of player. And he'll take some shots here and there. But I just think he's not a natural pocket passer is what I'm getting at. He's definitely a really, really good athlete. But just to comment on Abdul, Dylan opted out after they decided that they were going to move forward with Joe. That's what happened. So they battled, Joe won, and he was like, I'm out. So can't really blame him. In my opinion, if you thought that you were better than him, then you probably could have stayed because you would have had the opportunity to play. Just ask McNamara that. So, good for him. I hope he finds a good landing spot. Maybe like a Memphis or Houston, there are a lot of places that need quarterbacks. So, but unfortunately, there's, like I said, it's like the wild, wild west. It's like free agency right now. There are a lot of quarterbacks out there that are better than him. So, he's probably looking at, they'll go through the first round, and the quarterbacks that are better than him will, they'll pick their schools, and he'll have to pick over what's left. So I think that's what's happening with him. But good for him. On a different note, I think it's really interesting because you have JJ coming in, you have McNamara there, and are you going to start a freshman? Are you going to start a true sophomore? And whatever you do, Harbaugh's job's riding on it. I mean, I personally think he's already fired. I just think it's a matter of time. I think that they kept him because although Michigan's recruiting class is, I look at it as the best of the rest type deal, where they had a solid recruiting class, but if you notice, a lot of kids committed later because other spots were taken at other schools. So the one kid out of Michigan who's a running back, I mean, he's really good, but they were after Evan Pryor and Kamar Wheaton and the gentleman who went to TCU. I can't think of his name. There are a lot of other running backs that were ahead of him. So, he committed to Michigan, great, but it was definitely late in the cycle. That just kind of is what it is. But, they have another top 10 recruiting class. Again, we'll see what they do with it. I definitely think that there's probably going to be some moving and shaking in regards to that after the fact, because I don't think Harbaugh is going to be there next year. I mean, his contract, outside of them losing like one game and beating Ohio State, he's done. Mm-hmm. So, I just, like I said, it's just a matter of time, and they're not beating Ohio State next year. If I'm the quarterback, they're not beating Ohio State next year. So, I guess we're just looking to see who the next coach is going to be. So, we'll just have to wait and see. I definitely think that, the guy from Iowa State, I think he just re-upped for 10 years. So he's out. I really don't know where Michigan goes. That's the most interesting part about this whole thing. I don't know where Michigan goes for a coaching search.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's interesting. It seems like it's going to be a complete, for however long Jim is still there, it's going to be a complete rebuild. I mean, everything is younger now, mm-hmm. from the quarterbacks down to the defense. So, yeah. Going back to Milton, what's interesting is that McCaffrey was Shea's backup all those years. It's interesting that Joe, whatever they saw, Joe seemed to beat McCaffrey in that head-to-head competition. Which, what does that mean? McCaffrey wasn't that good himself, or
does it mean that they? I think what happened is McCaffrey's solid. Solid, right? And I think Joe Milton was the better athlete. And we all know in football or in sports in general, you always put the athlete ahead of the steady guy because there's a higher ceiling there because he's a better athlete. And especially I kind of look at it like the Terrell Pryor situation, where Terrell Pryor wasn't a pocket passer, right? Mm-hmm. Every time he stepped on the field, he was the most athletic player on the field, and he had the ball in his hands all the time. Which, with what Ohio State was doing at that time, led to wins. It didn't in this particular situation, to kind of go over my previous comment. I don't think they really accented on what he does best. I know you walked away, but I said that how many times I know Joe Milton can run. How many times will we see him run this year? Not a lot. I mean, unless he was running for his life. I really didn't see, quarterback design runs to keep the defense honest as much as I feel like I should have.
Interesting.
And I don't think he's a pocket. I don't think he's not a natural thrower of the football. He's not a natural passer. That's not what he is. It's not what he is. He probably could develop a game like that, But right now, just watching him throw, watching him process information in real time, that's just not what he is. And that's okay. Like, you can still design an offense for a player, to be successful. And he doesn't have to be, Trevor Lawrence or, whoever. You know what I mean? He doesn't have to be one of the best quarterbacks in the country. He can just be really good at what he does.
So my question is this. I mean, can't you teach that? Can't you coach that up? Or is that something a kid just doesn't have after a certain point in his development? Reading a defense, going through your progressions.
So
knowing when to let go of the ball.
I think that's a tough question to answer because I don't trust Michigan's coaching staff.
Okay.
So that makes it difficult to decipher, I guess. Because let's say a kid like McCarthy, right, who went to IMG, he learned all those things in high school, right? And I've done a lot of history. I think that Kyle McCarthy is going to be awesome for us going forward. Them battling it out, it's going to be incredible. But McCarthy reads defenses, picks his own plays, right? And that was not Joe Milton's game in high school at all. McCarthy played against, they're the IMG Academy in Florida is like, it's the premier football school in the country outside of Bosco and the one in South Florida. I can't remember the name of it. So, and then the one in Vegas that Tate Martell went to. Those are like the best schools in the country for football. And McCarthy was a lot further along in the process than probably Joe Milton was because of, his, I guess, just, maybe coaching in high school. And then, a lot of success in football is based upon situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you have the best coaches that allow you to grow, and then you go to another situation where you have equal coaching that allows you to grow, that's good. But for Joe Milton, he sat a couple years and he got on the field and he wasn't very good. So, is it a combination of, he wasn't that developed in high school as much as, somebody like McCarthy was? He, remember Joe Milton wasn't a top 5 quarterback either. He was like the middle of the pack.
Mm-hmm.
But, I just think he's more the athlete than an actual pocket passer. And then, like I said, there's nothing wrong with that. You can develop that. I just don't know if he had the ability to do that in high school, and I don't know if Michigan was able to help him develop while he was there. I think the quarterback play from his perspective seemed pretty pedestrian. He had the one good game against Minnesota, and we found out Minnesota was trash, so that really doesn't mean a lot. And Wisconsin, Wisconsin was like COVID bitten, and McNamara did everything but win that game. So, Wisconsin was subpar. So, the typical tough teams in the Big Ten all had down years, and he just wasn't good at the end of the day. He just wasn't good. And it could be a number of reasons why. It could be all those reasons. It could just be he's not good. I definitely think a change of scenery, somewhere that fits what he's really, really good at. And, maybe, we've had this conversation tons of times, online and offline where, maybe it's just Jim, you know what I mean? Maybe Jim got lucky with one dude and in college, and he's just not very good at what we think he's good at. Right.
Mm-hmm.
That happens sometimes, when you get a label placed upon you, it's really, really hard to get it off. In this case, everybody thinks because, he got Andrew Luck and, what he did with Kaepernick, which that's a whole another situation. But I think Kaepernick was already, he was already where he was. I don't think Jim just gave him the opportunity, but I think Kaepernick I think was a second round pick. So he was good in college. I just think that he's not what we think he is. And I think that's okay too. I think it's probably somewhere in the middle. I mean, he's gone places and he's won games. So he's not complete trash. We just think that this particular opportunity, he's just done a very, very terrible job. And, I've said it before, I don't think he's a long-term solution to any program.
Mm-hmm.
You come in, you give him a boost, and then you move on. That's typically what he does. He doesn't stay. I don't think he's ever stayed at a program this long before.
I don't think so either. So,
yeah, I mean, there's that piece. So, like I said, I'm really happy for Joe. I'm happy he's moving on. Hopefully, I really would like to see him get into a situation where he can flourish. Just next time that you go on a team, just don't say that you're going to transfer and beat him by 50 because you are not that good. You are not that good to transfer and beat somebody by 50 unless you're playing like Troy State or, Grambling, like something like that. If you're in a, group of 5. So that was a bit much. But I mean, there hasn't really been a lot of noise coming out of that program. There were a lot of issues in regards to the player engagement with each other. You could clearly see, and I know we talked about this before, you could clearly see that when Joe was on the field, players were not happy. And the moment McNamara got on the field, it was like everybody was excited. And I know that the backup quarterback is always the most famous person on the team, right? He's the most liked person on the team because everybody wants to give him a shot. That's fine. But I think in this scenario, I think it might be a little different. I mean, the first time McNamara came into the game, it was like, holy shit, this is oh, I'm sorry. Holy crap, this is very different than what we're used to seeing. And then it happened again. And then it happened again. And I mean, you're always good until somebody gets tape on you also. So there's a bunch of different things that factor into that situation. But
okay.
I'm really interested to see what happens in that quarterback battle because if McCarthy starts, does McNamara transfer, right? So I mean, I think for you guys, it's a really exciting time just to see what happens in that regard.
Yeah.
So,
let me look at some of these comments. I see some people here I don't recognize. If you're new, hey guys, please click
like
that
like
button. Yeah, and subscribe. Dre, you have a disagreement here. Dre says Jim is not going to be fired, but they're not going to overpay him. I think Jim hired a good staff. Wolf 58 says I wouldn't trust Milton with any pass over 20 yards. I was surprised. Well, we know he had the arm strength, but I think you called this yourself. He seemed to have a hard time hitting the intermediate and the low level routes, which was that was
when we talk about arm strength, the first person I think of is Jamarcus Russell, and we all know how that ended up. So.
Jamarcus Russell. By the way, Abdul Gaines used to be a Raider fan. By the way.
Of course he was.
I'm just saying.
Of course he was. I'm not surprised at all.
Here's a question for you. Did Alex play quarterback or play football?
Yes, I did.
Okay, Dre. Yes, he did.
Yes, I did. I didn't play quarterback. I played receiver and I did some punt returns when I was in high school.
Okay. Herb says throwing is something you can't teach, just like running fast. Is that a laugh of disagreement or is that a laugh of
That's a laugh of agreement.
Okay. It's a skill, right?
It is. It's a skill. But I think that when I've never played college football, right? But I understand, like, when you play college sports, you get a playbook. There's an expectation that's set of what you're supposed to do, what you're not supposed to do, right? I don't know if they were just like, you're going to sit back here and you're going to pick these defenses apart. And I just feel like there was just no adjustment for him at all at any point in the season. There was just no adjustment. So, yeah.
Okay. JJ was an OSU reject, so I guess he's saying we've picked up your sloppy seconds.
No, that's actually not true. Well, I wouldn't. So here's the thing: JJ wanted to go to Michigan, and Ryan Day really out of all the quarterbacks he had the opportunity to recruit, he wanted Kyle McCord was number one on his list. And I mean, those guys are like neck and neck. I mean, they're, I honestly, I've seen them both play. I think maybe McCord has better touch on the football, but learning what I've learned about McCarthy, that's really like coming in. I don't know that much about McCord, but I know more about McCarthy, which is strange. But coming in high school, you're able to, pick your own plays, and you get X amount of plays that you can pick out of X formations every week, and then you're running that with your offense. I mean, I went to a pretty good high school. Like, we had a really good football team, and our quarterbacks didn't do that. That's not something they did. So, I think that just speaks to his pedigree, as a player. So, good for him. So we'll see.
Okay, let's see. Let's see. Isn't St. Thomas Aquinas in South Florida?
That's the one, St. Thomas. Yep, that's the one.
And who went there?
Everybody.
Everybody.
A lot that school's produced a lot of really good players in college football.
In addition to his lack of accuracy, he can't read a defense. That's coaching.
I don't know. See, and that's the thing. I don't know if that's a coaching thing or if that is a Joe thing, right? He just might not be able to do it. Like, some things you just can't coach.
Okay. Milton ain't dropping 50 on anybody. If he could, he'd be the starter at Michigan.
Agreed. 100%.
And then Abdul Gain says,
I'm afraid.
A lot of things I used to be a fan of, like the Patriots. Sour YT says, go blue. Almost every Buckeye said Ohio would blow us out. Please rethink. I think he's talking about today's basketball game.
No, actually.
Were they saying that?
No. Well, I didn't say that. I know we didn't discuss it, but I was thinking they're just so big, man. They're so big on the inside. And I mean, Liddell was a matchup problem, absolutely. But man, when you got those big boys, like they're 7 foot. They're like legit 7 foot. So there's like 7 foot people that play small, and then there's 7-footers that play 7 foot, and those dudes play like they're 7'5". Like, they play big. And Ohio State, they don't have the guys to put bodies on. They just don't have them. I mean, not a lot of programs do. So that's just what I know you talked about the rebounding factor, and that's a huge part of it. Like, when our best player is 6'8", 6'9", and you got 2 or 3 7-footers that are just coming at you in waves. What are you supposed to do? There's nothing you can do about it. It's a size thing.
Mm-hmm.
And they're really skilled, which makes it worse.
Yeah, when you have the size and the shooting, yeah, and a point guard.
Like I said, they have everything to win a national championship. They have everything. I feel like if they don't win, they don't have any excuses. Like, they're that. I think, and I was thinking about this before we jumped on. Like, they're probably the best team in the Big Ten since I'm thinking the Odin team was like really good, right? But they basically had 3 players on that team. right?
Yeah.
So, and then you go before that, the Illinois team with the 3 guards was really, really good. But the last time I've seen a team, sorry, I live by a base.
That's all right.
The last time I've seen a team like that is this team is complete. They're a complete team. Was probably that Cleves team.
Okay. The Michigan State team. Yeah.
Yeah, that Michigan State team with Hudson, Mo Pete,
McKinney, Charlie Bell, and
Charlie Bell. I was like, I know they had another guy that played in the league, Charlie Bell. So like, they could beat you inside, they could beat you outside. I mean that team was just tough, as they were just tough as nails, and that's just a Tom Izzo team. So, yeah.
Okay. Ryan says, great channel. Keep up the great work. Thank you, Ryan. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. Thank you very much. Please
Absolutely.
click the like. Dre says, someone from the Big Ten is going to win the basketball national championship this year.
Agree.
That seems like a sound assumption.
Yeah.
Let's see, basketball, and then it's the other way around in football. And then Dre says MSU 2000 national champion. Yep, that was the last Big Ten team to win the national championship. Well, Alex. So we're at about an hour. Unless you have anything else on the Joe Milton, I'm sure we'll be talking about that for a while, even into next season. We'll be looking back at this and talking about it. But unless you have anything else on that,
we can move forward.
Since Abdul Gaines is such an NBA fan, I think he also wants to see the current NBA standings. So we're going to just take a quick, before we wrap up, we're going to take a quick look around the world of sports, and we're going to take a look at the NBA standings, because I know Abdul Gaines wants to see the Western Conference right now.
No, you want to see the Western Conference.
No. Abdul Gaines is a diehard NBA fan. Where is it?
Right. But we can also talk about your allegiance in the NBA as well. You want to see that record?
Let's start with the Eastern Conference, because we know how much Abdul Gaines loves the New Jersey Nets. I'm sorry, the Brooklyn Nets.
Yeah.
So right now in the NBA, the Sixers are leading the Eastern Conference. The Nets are number 2. So these are your top 8 Eastern Conference teams. So the Knicks would be in, the Hornets would be in, the Raptors would be in, the Pacers, the Celtics, and the Bucks. And let's take a look at
for a second. Shout out to the Knicks.
The Knicks?
Yeah. I mean, the Knicks have been like the Michigan of the NBA.
Yeah.
They've been bad all over. Like they have invented ways to be bad. And they got Thibodeau in there. I don't think Toppin's really played that much, the guy from Dayton, but Julius Randle's having an all-star season. So, the one guy from Duke, the left-hander, he's coming around. So, they got some pieces there. They're doing some things. So shout out to them because they haven't been relevant since they had Carmelo, Jason Kidd, and Tyson Chandler when they went to the playoffs. And that was probably 15 years ago. So good for them.
Okay. All right, everyone. So now let's look at the conference that Abdul Gaines really cares about. The Western Conference, where the Utah Jazz are leading, and the 2 LA.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. There's only one LA team.
I knew it was coming.
One lives in the basement and one lives in the attic with all the banners. But anyway, right now, Utah is leading the Western Conference, and the Heritage team and the non-Heritage LA team are tied for second place. Let's see. And then you got the Suns, the Blazers, the Spurs, the Nuggets, and the Warriors. The Warriors are in eighth place.
Yeah.
How about that? And in Curryland, there's trouble in paradise. That's a different story for a different day. Probably not the right channel for that.
No, definitely not. No.
Yeah. So everyone, have a quick look at the NBA, and then we'll wrap up for the first time with
Let's
some
talk
tennis.
about it, because I've been waiting for this. Let's talk about it.
Oh man! So I want to say This is history. It's the first time I've talked about tennis here. I don't even watch tennis. Congratulations to Naomi Osaka for winning the Australian Open. And hope this doesn't gross you guys out, but this might be my new athletics celebrity crush. Do you have something to say about it, Alex?
It's not a bad one.
Not a bad one. No. Abdul Gaines will like this over on Twitter
because she wears Lakers stuff.
She did a little picture with her new trophy in Laker gear. There we go. Oh wow, that's just dreamy. Abdul Gaines did comment. Let's see what he said. We have a banner that we've yet to unveil due to fans not being able to attend games and the parade from the fall. We don't worry about those zero. We don't worry about those with zero titles.
I tell you what, he does not disappoint.
No, he doesn't.
He does not disappoint.
Naomi, hearts and eyes. Yeah. And Herb says, "Oh man, boys, I have a topic for you. I don't know if that's related to Steph Curry and his wife or what, but certainly, congratulations to Naomi. She laid the beat down on Serena, and she certainly looks good with her trophy and her Laker gear. So, well, everyone, that's pretty much all I had to cover today. I wanted to give a little recap on the basketball game, and I want to give Alex a chance to give his 2 cents on Joe Milton entering the transfer portal. We wanted to take a look at the NBA standings for Abdul, and of course, we wanted to congratulate Naomi Osaka on her Australian Open win. It looks like Herb Lewis is in here as well. We'll see what he has to say really quickly before we shut it down. Because what's up, Herb?
Hey, fellas.
How you doing, Herb?
Now, this conversation arose from a sports talk debate group that I'm in. So I'll just throw this out there real quick, being that you guys are on a tennis tip. Is Serena the greatest female tennis player ever?
Without question.
Okay. Now, let me ask you this question. Mm-hmm. Do you think Steffi Graf is capable of beating her?
No.
At all?
I think if they play 10, Steffi could probably win 3 or 4.
So she's capable of beating her?
I think if they play 10 matches.
No, hold on. I'm not saying who would win the most. I'm just saying, is she capable of beating her?
Yeah, I think she's capable of beating her.
That was the point I was trying to make in the group, but the group was adamant that she wouldn't stand a chance.
So this is how I view it. Steffi Graf, for the time period that she played in, was dominant. I mean, she was, you have those dominant players, the Steffi Grafs, Martina Hingis, even Venus for a while. Like I'm a big female tennis. Like I've been watching female tennis since I was in like elementary school. So I follow it pretty closely. I think the reason why everybody thinks that, one, I don't think people really paid attention to tennis until, especially, certain people paid attention to tennis until Serena Williams and.
No, you can say, because I made that point in the group that I'm in, yeah, and I was wrongly denounced for it. I'd like you to go back to the Martina Hingis, the Chris Everett Loys, and the Martina Navratilova era.
Yeah. So Navratilova came up in our group, and I watched Navratilova. Navratilova was tough, right? I just think the thing about Serena and the thing about Venus was more Steffi Graf.
Right.
She had the more finesse game, right?
Correct.
Serena was just absolute power.
Correct.
We've never seen a tennis player like that before. Just
correct.
Complete power. I mean, her serves at one point in time, I mean, you couldn't come up, you just couldn't come up to get it. It was insane. It was like Tiger and a driver. I mean, we've never seen it before, right? So I think that's where everybody is just so against the idea. But I think Steffi, I think it's possible. I definitely think it's possible. but you also have to keep in mind they're playing two different eras.
Correct.
Two different types of players.
Correct.
But is it possible? Absolutely. I almost feel like you're having a discussion like it's almost like imagine if like Julius Erving and LeBron James played in a game of like one-on-one.
Yeah.
LeBron James, bigger, stronger, faster, right?
Yes.
Power, complete power.
Mm-hmm.
Julius Erving, similar size, but a lot more finesse to his game.
Right.
A lot more grace to his game. Could Julius get some of those? Absolutely. But I think if they play 10 matches, I think LeBron's going to win, and I think Serena's going to win against Graf and everybody else. But it's definitely possible. It's not like, let's not act like she's unbeatable. I mean, her sister beat her down for years. So let's not act like she's unbeatable, because she's not. She's beatable. She's just old.
No. I'm talking about if you take them at their prime. But what I always tell people is this: just like you said, it's a different era. What Serena doesn't do well, Steffi does. Serena does not serve and volley well, and we all know that in order to defeat a power tennis player, you move them around the court.
Yeah.
Steffi would excel at that.
That's what made Pete Sampras so good.
Correct.
To me, Pete Sampras is the best tennis player I've ever seen in my life.
Probably. Joker.
It's just my personal opinion.
Oh no! I don't disagree. Pete was amazing because Pete reminds me of a young Boris Becker with more talent.
Yeah. So like to this day, I've never seen somebody hit drop shots from anywhere on the court and the ball bounces one time.
Right, and that's what I was trying to get across.
I've never seen it.
I was talking about Serena when I was talking about Steffi. I said Steffi plays a different brand of game, and and what I always tell people is just like they say, with boxing, styles make matches. They have two opposite styles, and Steffi would never play into her power game. She would let her sit back there on the baseline and just wail away at the ball. She would make her move.
You know what? You're talking to me. I'm gonna have to look into this. In theory, like listen to you talk. Like the more I'm thinking about, it, I'm like that does make a lot of sense, because that's the reason why Sampras used to tear Agassi up all the time, because he
bingo. And see, and this was the thing I was talking about. I said you guys have started watching tennis only when Serena started playing. Okay. I've been watching tennis for 30 years.
Yeah, so have I. Yeah.
And not only has the game changed, the emphasis now is all on power and baseline tennis. So we don't hear about people hitting great winners anymore. We just hear about the unforced errors and the serves.
Right.
When we watch, they always chronicled the winning shots, and that's how they would win games. Now you see Serena winning in straight sets. And what I always tell people is if you want to look at the competition that those players face, all you have to do is go look at the number of Grand Slams that each of those players in that era won. Serena has been eligible to win, I think it's about 124, 25 Grand Slam singles titles. She's only won 23. So who are the other players that won? Because if we put Serena back in the 80s, she would catch hell trying to get through those fields. Because you couldn't beat everybody with power. You had to move.
That's true.
She would not excel at that because that was not the strength in her game.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely think she's added some pieces in her game where she can do it, but I 100% agree with your assessment. 100%.
She wouldn't be able to consistently do it enough to amass the number of Grand Slam titles she has. Now, I won't get into the doubles and the mixed doubles because I don't think Steffi really played doubles, and certainly not mixed doubles. And to me, mixed doubles and doubles, they're a fantastic part of tennis because it's more strategy going on.
I don't really count those. I mean, it's fun to watch. It's like an all-star game. It's fun to watch, but
and that's why I kind of when I can, because it seems like they don't really televise a lot of the doubles and mixed doubles until it gets to the finals and the semifinals, unless you have to catch some of the older people playing. But I'm always fascinated by it. I remember when I first got in, I was like doubles, because I didn't understand how the court was laid out. I was like, what is the extra space for? And they said doubles. Doubles. How do you play tennis with 4 people? And then when I saw it, I said, oh, okay, this is what it's like.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely fun to watch. It's definitely fun to watch, 100%. But I don't count titles when it comes to that. I mean, I don't personally. but it's funny.
People throw them in there, just to bolster the numbers. And I looked at the numbers, and Steffi had 107 singles titles overall, and I think Serena had like 90 something. So I'm like, if we're counting all singles titles and not just Grand Slams, then Steffi's number one. But people don't want to do that because they want Serena, who's a media darling, to be that number one slot. And I don't have a problem with it. What I tell people is, if you're going to look at an argument, then look at every aspect of it and not just one.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's only fair.
Yeah, so that's all. You guys, you got on Osaka and the tennis. I said, well, let me throw this in there just to see if I can get somebody else's perspective.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're gonna wrap up.
Have me thinking for the rest of the day. Thank you for that, Herb.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
And Herb, at some point, I'm glad I gotta remember to read the Michigan poem. I know you sent that to me a while ago. I'm gonna break the poem out for everybody at some point. All right. So before we go, we have the quintessential debate breaking out in the comment section. Who is the GOAT? We're gonna have to address this at some point. Is it this guy?
It's not close.
This guy?
It's not close. It is not close.
This guy.
And when we have this argument, I can break it down. It's not even close. It's not even close. Not at all. It's not close.
Well, I bet Naomi thinks it's this guy along with me. Well, no, actually, no. She's wearing the Laker color, so she thinks it's this guy.
Yeah.
So
I mean, he's the truth. But we had this discussion before. When you want to have this discussion, I will bring my notes, and it won't be close. It will not be close.
All right, Herb, you have to come along for that one too.
You know what? The funny thing about this, I remember when Kobe got drafted and everything started to materialize for him. And I said, look, this guy has the potential, just on skill and athleticism alone, to be arguably the greatest basketball player I have ever seen. And to prove that, I have a number 8 Kobe Bryant jersey hanging in my closet that I will not part with. That's how sold I was on the fact that he was that great of a player. And I remember being in Las Vegas. I was in front of the Venetian with a guy, younger guy, who had on a Shaq jersey. We took a picture. I said, I'm keeping this. I said, I'm going to hang this up. Just a random meeting. And I'm not a Laker fan. I'm a Sixer fan. But I love Kobe's game that much, and I loved him as a person. I said, this is something I said, I got to keep 2 people. I don't even know where he's from. Don't know his name. I said, we got to take this picture. I said, it was kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, guys. We're going to wrap up. The 3 of us and Naomi, we're going to wrap up. But before I do, of course, I have to show Abdul Gaines' favorite Michigan football player of all time.
Don't do it.
Sean Gary. Taking his selfie with the Michigan student section. Herb, we have a bunch of running jokes here. So,
I was in Adam. I got him.
Okay. This is that.
I don't care if they don't ever win. I'm not a bandwagon fan, Abdul. I say where my loyalties are. Win or loss. Great Sky.
Okay, Abdul Gaines says, okay, so we have the Jordan thing going here. There are other variables people don't consider. I'm not talking about if the 2 played against each other. Nobody beat more 50-win teams in the playoffs than Kobe. Kobe is my favorite athlete that came about in my adult years. I love Kobe. Kobe has no case for GOAT.
Ooh.
And finally, we'll wrap up with Rashawn Gary is a massive underachiever. All right, guys, we'll wrap up here on that note. Thanks for coming through.
Yeah, man.
Herb on the tennis, Alex, as always, on the Joe Milton and the everything. So, and thank you, Naomi. So with that, everyone, thanks for watching. We'll wrap up. Please like, share, and subscribe.
Wait, one thing before we hop off.
Go for it.
Stop comparing your quarterbacks to Cam Newton, Michigan fans.
Hey, no, Matt Leinart did that. Matt Leinart did that.
They did it too. They jumped on the bandwagon.
I didn't. I know
Jumped
better.
on the bandwagon. Matt Leinart, you should never listen to that guy, and don't let me get started on that. All right, because I know what Matt Leinart's life is about. Hey, Herb knows why I'm saying that. You know.
He's a,
You know.
we know Brady was the only one that came from the West Coast that Michigan fans should never talk about in terms of a quarterback. That's the final point on that.
Yep, agree, 100,000%.
Okay, all right. Well, now I'm curious to know what you guys are talking about with regard to.
I'll let you know. I'll send.
All right. We'll
send
take
it
that
to you.
offline. We'll
So
take
you
that offline. All right. And also, Abdul Gaines did take a swipe at Matt Leinart and Brady Quinn for their comments on Justin Fields.
The hate is
everybody's on Abdul Gaines' hit list, so that's nothing new. All right, guys. Go Blue. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Be safe out there, and as always, remember that your attitude determines your altitude. And we'll talk to you the next time. All right. Bye-bye. All right, Naomi. Stop screen share. Take myself out of the stream.